talk about what you call membrane medicine and why our cell membranes are so important?
Well, cell membranes protect you from the toxins from the outside, and they enable you to get the nutrients coming within the cell because of the fluidity of the cell membrane in the first place, and they become fluid with the right omegas, but not omega-3 as we have been misdirected. It's actually omega-6 which strengthens the cell membrane. So I'm telling you to bring back the sixes. They strengthen the cell membrane. They're very sexy. They're good for your PMS, your menopause, your perimenopause, and they're also important for the skin, hair, and nails. So I talk about hemp seed oil in my book, sesame seed oil, pine nut oil, and the new mantra that we speak about, Dave, is hemp, hemp, hooray. And it's so healing because of the omega-6s, which heal the inside and the outside.
And so when you're talking about omega-6s, see, and this is something no one else is talking about. Everybody else out there is talking about avoid omega-6s like the plague.
Oh, I know, because they just rehash what's out there. Nobody's creative and thinking outside the box anymore, which really is very disturbing to me. Omega-6s can be altered, and then they're unhealthy. So I'm not talking about corn oil or canola oil or sunflower seed oil that's loaded with chemicals or has been chemically altered or heated with a lot of high heat or is exposed to air and light and so forth. Those are altered oils, but you can say the same thing for omega-3s. They're sensitive to heat, air, and light. We're talking about the pure, unadulterated omega-6s, and there's nothing like it to heal the cell membrane, which is important for children with neurological diseases, and I know that's a focal point of your group.
And that was one of the things when you were on Ben Greenfield's podcast, you were talking about those omega-6s being anti-inflammatory, and over the past several months, my son, we've been worried about his inflammation, and, it's causing a lot of behaviors, and we actually have him on ibuprofen to just control the self-injurious behavior and just to protect his brain while we figure out what's triggering the inflammation. But when I heard you talking about all these fats that we're avoiding, it can actually be anti-inflammatory. That's why I ran out and bought that bottle of sesame seed oil, expeller pressed organic sesame seed oil. And the hemp seeds, which again we were completely avoiding because of all the omega-6s.
Well, right, but I'm glad that hemp seed oil and hemp is making a comeback because it's getting more people into the space of CBD oil as well as the hemp seed oil, which is the oil from the seed of the hemp. But it's extraordinarily high in the perfect ratio of those sixes to nines, which is 4-to-1. So for your son and anyone suffering from any kind of challenge, neurological challenge, anybody in the autism spectrum, 1 to 2 tablespoons of hemp seed oil a day will be very, very healing. You'll first see the difference on the skin and then in the nervous system itself within a month. I promise.
So just 1 to 2 tablespoons of hemp oil?
Hemp seed oil, and you don't heat it. You don't heat it because it's very sensitive to heat, air, and light. But you put it in a salad dressing, for example. I would take away all of this coconut oil, ridiculous stuff that I'm hearing about. I would use hemp seed oil. It's an essential fatty acid. Our children, our adults, our infants are all deficient in omega-6s, which is essential as a healing element for every tissue, membrane, as well as every cell in your body.
Right. Okay. So just for clarification's sake, you're not necessarily saying that coconut oil is bad, right?
I'm saying that it can't displace omega-6s.
Okay. So up the omega-6s and maybe try and keep a balance with the coconut or the MCT oil.
Because coconut oil does not contain essential fatty acids. Hemp seed oil, flaxseed oil, fish oil, walnut oil, sesame seed oil to some degree. All of those, as well as perilla oil, have the omegas in them, which we're very deficient in. And if there's an issue with the cell membrane in your nervous system, you want those omega-6s. You can even get them in something like black currant seed oil or little borage oil, or even, let's see, what else can you get? You can get it in evening primrose oil. But you should be able to get it easily if you go to the health food store and put a little hemp seed oil on your salad dressing. 4-to-1 in favor of omega-6 is what we've ignored all these years. So the omega-6s have been unduly maligned and misunderstood, and I am here in this book that everybody should read to get the record straight. You'd be amazed at what's happening with people on the right omega-6s.
Gotcha. So we do still need omega-3s. We just need to keep it in check with a 4-to-1 ratio in favor of the omega-6s, the
right
good quality omega-6s.
The unaltered, yes, non-degenerate, non-denatured omega-6s. And there's a special oil that I talk about in the book, and I don't know if you're going to ask me a question about this, but I'll throw it in because my good friend Ben Greenfield was very interested in this, and this was the pine nut oil. What I discovered is that pine nut oil has an essential fatty acid called pinoleic acid, very similar to gamma-linoleic acid, which is an omega-6. It will heal esophageal erosion, problems with GERD, problems with leaky gut, and H. pylori. So if you take that, in addition to the hemp seed oil, you'll be healing yourself from the mouth to the anus. You should excuse the expression, but it heals from within. The hemp seed oil will heal from without. What a beautiful combination.
Gotcha. And so how much of that would we need to take in order to get that healing benefit of the pine nut oil?
It's a pricey oil. I like the Siberian, I think it's called Siberian Tiger or Tiger Naturals. It's all in the book, the particular one that we used for the clinicals that I did on my own little group that we worked with for about 3 months before the book was released. And I would say it's a teaspoon to a tablespoon a half an hour before meals. So if you've got irritation in the gut, H. pylori, the beginning of an ulcer, leaky gut syndrome, or any other kind of IBS, any kind of disorder with the colon or the gut, I would take that to heal that, number one. If you have esophageal irritation or any kind of erosion, I take at least 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon, and that should be 20 minutes before meals. It is absolutely amazing in terms of healing that and helping with any kind of GERD or heartburn situation. It's almost magical. It works better than anything I've ever used for my clients.
So you just take like a big, half a shot glass of pine nut oil just all by itself?
Down the hatch. You betcha.
Okay. We can do that. All right, so you kind of alluded to the linoleic acid and the gamma linoleic acid. So let's talk about those parent essential oils, because it's one of the misjudgments that I made. Like I'm at the store looking at the ingredient labels, and I'll see something called high linoleic sunflower oil, and I immediately put it back thinking, oh, that's got to be ultra processed and can't possibly be good. But in your book, I learned that linoleic acid is one of those parent essential oils. And by essential oils, I mean essential fatty acid, not like peppermint essential oil. But you talk about high linoleic acid being actually one of those really good omega-6 fats. So can you just talk about the 3 parent essential oils and maybe give us a couple ideas of why they're good and where we can find them?
Well, you've got the flaxseed oil with the alpha-linoleic acid, which is linolenic acid, I should say, which is also good. This is like alphabet soup, the ALA, the LA, and so forth. So I would say the linoleic acid, which you can get in a denatured, unheated sunflower seed oil, very good for the cell membrane. You can get it in hemp seed oil, and you can get it to some degree in the sesame seed oil. So that would be number 1. And safflower seed oil, very, very healing. And some people, for some reason, Dave, do better on one than the other. So it's kind of a thing that you have to try on for size. And then you've got the alpha-linolenic acid, which you can get in flaxseed oil, which is another precursor. It's another parent oil. And that has been found to be very good with women that have a predisposition to breast issues, breast cancer. So then you've got the flaxseed oil, and also good for the brain, good for the gut, good for the joints. That has been found to be very helpful for children that are suffering from ADD or ADHD. So a little bit of that in the diet, in a smoothie, in a salad dressing goes a long way. Now, you can't cook with these oils because they're very sensitive to heat, air, and light. So you have to have them in no heat recipes.
That was one of my questions about flaxseed, because I've always heard that flax seeds are easily oxidized, and most flax on the market is no good. So is that true? And if not, how do we choose the right source of flax?
Well, if you have a concern, you want to make sure that there's a little bit of rosemary extract in the oil and that you use it up within 3 weeks. And you can tell by that bitterness that you get at the end of your tongue, so to speak, when you take a little flaxseed oil. But if you're concerned at all, then just use the flax seeds, which are highly impervious to heat, air, and light. You can even bake with them. So I would use the flax seeds, maybe 3 tablespoons to a tablespoon of oil. And I've used that for years with my ADD and ADHD children. And I put them in a little bit of non-gluten cereals, for example, maybe a kind of rice mix or gluten-free, grain-free granola type thing where you use a little bit of flax seeds, or you just put it in a smoothie. So you can do quite a few things with that, or even hemp seeds for the omega-6s. Okay. It's very easy. And I want to revisit the coconut oil. Coconut oil is very healing, and people will be all up in arms because I've said this, but it does not displace the essential fatty acids. I feel I need to say that for a little bit more emphasis. It's not an essential fat, and most of us did not come from a line of genetic predispositions to eat a lot of coconut. I mean, some of us are from Northern Europe, some of us are from Eastern Europe, and there was not a coconut on the trees there. So you want to eat the kind of oils that are cold water oils, cold water fish oils, as well as that sunflower and sesame seed oil.